Hello, my name is Zaid, and a couple months ago I got inspired by some YouTubers to make a cereal commercial, which was actually my first ever commercial. I like to think that it was a good commercial, but looking back at it now, there was many mistakes that I was able to see now that I have more experience. So I decided to make a better version of my first ever commercial with completely new ideas and shots. So I'm going to show you how I made this Weetabix commercial. So planning is an extremely important part of doing a shoot to make sure that you don't feel like you are completely lost and have no idea what to shoot next. So I head over to YouTube again to get some inspiration of some cereal commercials, and I came across this amazing Kellogg's commercial that was so unique and different that it was something I knew I would like to recreate. I worked on my storyboard and thought of a couple of shots, and when I mean a couple, it was about 4 shots with no description of what is happening in any of the shots. I thought it was good enough to give me a few starting shots to work with, but this was a bad idea, and it made it extremely hard to come up with any ideas. The first shot was a simply pushing shot towards the cereal box, but since I don't own a slider, I used a gimbal which would stabilize the shot as I move forward. The gimbal simply didn't get the desired effects that I was looking for, so I just placed the phone on a tripod and punched it in with some digital zoom. The next shot would involve things getting a bit messy, so I grabbed a plate and started placing the cereal on the plate. I also needed a stool in order to slightly elevate the plate so I could get as close to the cereal as possible and just started dropping some of the cereal. This next shot was going to get even more messy, so I got a blue tub and poured the cereal out of the box by cutting the flaps on the side. Then the cereal can smoothly slide out of the box straight past the camera and into the tub without making a mess. Another shot that I thought of while filming was the cereal dropping down into the bowl from a top-down view. I tried many attempts so that the cereal would bounce around the bowl and crumbs would fly around the bowl. The tricky part was trying to not hit the camera as I dropped the cereal into the bowl. Oh no. One thing that I did not pay attention to is that the tripod was resting against the table, which meant as the cereal landed into the bowl, it shook the table, which shook the tripod and made the whole shot vibrate, which I did not see until I saw the video on my monitor. A huge problem was space on my phone. Apparently I've used 63.2 gigabytes out of 64, so I had to constantly move things over to my PC, which also became a disaster pretty quickly because my 3TB hard drive was already filled up with tons of games and clips of projects that I've not deleted yet. After some deleting and organizing, I finally had some space to move my clips on my phone to my PC and got straight back to work. Due to the lack of planning, the creativity of my shots really started to suffer, and time was passing very quickly as I was attempting many shots that just was not working. So I decided to just stick to the basics and get a lot of shots of the cereal pouring into the bowl. It was quite an odd setup, but I had a stool on a table with kitchen roll with the glass bowl balancing on the top. It was not the most ideal, but it worked and it allowed me to get the perfect angle of the bowl without getting a shot of the wooden table. I also used the macro lens to get some close-up shots of the cereal and a few more similar shots but with different angles. For some reason I was looking at the screen on the camera while pouring the cereal, and then obviously the cereal went straight past the bowl. One shot that came into my mind was the strawberries falling down past the camera and then landing onto the bowl of cereal. Then the other shot took many attempts as the strawberries were just not falling the way I liked it, until finally they all landed correctly and I was satisfied. A massive problem I came across was this odd flickering that was coming from the light. My first thoughts was that the frame rate and shutter speed is just not correct, so I decided to increase the shutter speed, but it just made things worse. So I brought it down a little bit and it seemed to fix it for now, but it does result in a slightly less natural motion blur. Now with that issue temporarily fixed, I moved on to the few final shots. It was time for the milk shots, which was the most exciting part for me when I did my first commercial, but this time I kind of ran out of ideas due to bad planning once again. I elevated the bowl with my technique that I used before and simply got a shot of the milk pouring into the bowl from a distance, and the milk contrasted very well with the black backdrop. Then to get some variety, I also got some closer shots of the milk pouring into the cereal and on the fruit as well. Finally, the ending shot was the spoon going into the cereal, and I imagined in my head while filming that there would be the logo that pops up at the end and fades to white. Now with all of the shots complete, I'll give you a very quick idea of the editing process. First, I generated the optimized media, which took like an hour because my PC cannot handle 4K footage. Then I put the song into the timeline, played around with some of the clips until I had a small sequence at the start. I done a little bit of grading by making a sigmoid shape with all of the clips to increase the colour and contrast a little bit. I applied some digital zoom to almost all of the clips, and there you go. Now that it's rendered, here is the final commercial one more time. Anyways, if you liked the video, please give it a like, and if you didn't like it, then please give it a dislike, and if you want to see more filmmaking related videos, then subscribe to the channel. But until then, take care.